Good morning. Well, today's an exciting day. We've had basically 3 days of really good rain and everything is moist, and it's a really great time for us to do some fire mitigation. Kristina's brother Peter has a fire mitigation business, and so we've hired him to come up here and help us really clear around the road so that we have a good exit strategy, and also up close to the house where we have had quite a bit of growing up recently, and we need to really clear that out so that we have a good defensible space. The gamble oak that you see behind me is just perfect laddering fuels, so we need to clear that up around the bottoms of the trees, clear up some of the bottom limbs so that fire down low doesn't get up into the trees. And then Peter has a mulcher that's going to come through and just chop all that stuff up and spread it for mulch. So this is going to be a few-day project, and we're going to get started.
Welcome to Clarity Off Grid. We're Matt and Kristina, a couple who balances an off-grid lifestyle in a self-sustaining home in southwestern Colorado, with traveling near and far in our van, Clarity. Join us this summer as we give our home some overdue TLC and take on growing food in our challenging climate. Don't worry, we'll still bring you along on breathtaking travels through the mountains and deserts we call home. If you'd like to learn more about off-grid living and van life traveling, make sure to subscribe to our channel and don't forget to ring the bell to make sure you get notified when we upload new videos.
These clumps close to the road are going to go. Definitely all this gamble oak around the bottom of the ponderosa, and that juniper tree over there is going to go. This juniper tree. There's just a lot of work that's going to be done. Here's an example of a pinyon tree that I actually cut some of the bottom limbs off a couple of years ago. You guys didn't get to see this before Peter started here, but this was just overgrown, and he's been working here about a half an hour now, and it's totally cleaning up already. Pete, why don't you tell us what it is that we're doing and why we're doing it with a chainsaw and not doing it with a machine?
Well, today doing just all handwork with the chainsaw, I'm able to work in around the trees a lot closer and be more selective with the trees that we're taking out. Clear out the ladder fuels from underneath them without damaging the trees themselves. So we can then just put everything into piles, and then I would come back through with the machine, the big forestry mulcher, and I can mulch it all, and then we can also clear up the rest of the brush. Today's just that handwork day, clear out branches, limb the trees up, get rid of dead branches out of the trees, be super selective on what we're taking and not taking, just to get it more open, and then that way we don't damage trees with that massive masticator on that machine, because it likes to eat wood.
Okay.
I didn't just show up today and we just start cutting. I met with Matt and Kristina a couple weeks ago, I guess now. We walked the full length of their road after we talked about what their goals were. And their big concerns were getting out if there's a fire. The brush being so tight, you know, would they be able to safely get out with their vehicles and have a safe way out, because there is no other way off of the hill. Will firefighters be able to make it in our road with the brush so tight up on the edges? And so after discussing it and walking the road, we looked at it and decided that we do need to take the brush back further, and some of the trees that were overhanging the road, we wanted to get some of those trees taken out. Very selective cutting, because we don't want to get rid of all the trees or all the brush. So we want to be able to have a nice habitat for all the critters, not just people. Open that up so it's safe, and the added benefits of it is your road maintenance is less, because you're getting more sunlight in there that can dry the road, so you don't end up with soft spots. You're able to push your snow off further off of the road, so wintertime access is a whole lot better, and egress. Here in the southern part of Colorado, it's not just wildfires, but it's snow, it's year-round maintenance on the road. The added benefit of what we're doing over the next couple of days of getting that brush back, the trees back, getting more sunlight in, really is going to open up the road and make it better all the way around. Part of what we're doing today is, we kind of spoke earlier about some ladder fuels, but the ladder fuels are that scrub oak that's growing up, and other bushes that grow up underneath the trees. So like in this tree, you can see there's a bunch of limbs that are broken off. They're laying clear down on the ground. Cedars and junipers are notorious for having branches right down at ground level. And then there's all that fuel from all the needles, the grasses, the scrub brush, and other bushes. So part of what we're doing today is we're limbing up some of those limbs and getting the limbs out where I can get to them with a mulcher, and getting those up off the ground. You don't have to go as high up as you would in some trees, because cedars and junipers do like a lower canopy. Behind me is a really good example of the scrub oak growing right up into the trees. So you can see how they're growing right up into the tree. Well, the flames get in that scrub oak and go climb right up, hence ladder fuels. So it's just climbing right up the scrub oak, which then gets into the tree, and the needles particularly, they burn really, really quick. Like crumbled up newspaper, and it just goes right to the top of the tree and then starts a crown fire. And then the crown fires, when the crowns are close together, it just jumps from tree to tree to tree. And just like a prairie grass fire, it moves really rapidly, and it's hard for firefighters to keep up. And now you got flames over your head, branches and tree tops falling down on top, raining fire on top of you as a firefighter. So not real safe conditions, so we're trying to eliminate some of that today. Extra benefit, and one that I always try to make one of my goals, is when I'm doing the fire mitigation, we're not just making it better for the fire or safer for fire to lessen that likelihood, but we're also trying to make the forest a lot healthier. So if we can eliminate some of the trees that are in competition with each other, they can thrive and do better. A good example is one that's behind me. We have this young cedar that's growing up, and it's all the branches are on one side. It's never going to be a healthy tree. It's in direct competition with this big beautiful tree that needs a few branches cleaned up, but it's a big, beautiful, healthy tree. And so one of these trees is going to win this fight. So we kind of already know. So let's let the healthy one be healthy for longer and eliminate this little scrawny, scraggly thing that's only got a few branches. Because if this big one died tomorrow, that tree will never be a good, strong, healthy tree.
Check this out. I don't think that's red. I can't see it very well with my eyes, but I think it's mostly just sap.
So I get a lot of questions when I'm doing the fire mitigation. People are wanting to know, like, oh, I have all this downed logs and all these logs and stuff on the ground. And yes, some of them need to probably be cleaned up, but not all of them. There's like, this is a big, beautiful log that I'm leaning on here, and I would not grind this up during fire mitigation. It's a great home for critters. They've already got runways and a nest and stuff going in there. It's going to be years and years and years of rot and slow decay into the ground, feeding that forest over a much longer period of time. Just like with the mulch, you don't want super fine mulch, all of it that way. You want it some fine and then some bigger, and so the bigger chunks where you end up with, those are going to be your really over a long several years of decay, and it's slowly feeding that forest, not all at once. Because if you feed it all at once, it's just, you can shock it and it just be too much nutrients at one time. Feed it over a long period of time and create a much stronger, healthier forest.
Another benefit of all this is we're getting a ton of firewood. Oh man, that was a long day. I am wiped. We cut a lot of wood today. I should say, Pete cut a lot of wood today, and I hauled it out of the way, hauled the limbs out of the way, tried to make piles so that we can chip it up tomorrow with the machine. And Pete will be here in the morning tomorrow. I'm looking forward to seeing that machine in action.
Good morning and welcome back to Twisted Oak. This is the second day of our fire mitigation project, and Pete should be here any moment. I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm also really excited about getting this work done. As most of you guys know, if you've been watching our channel, I am definitely a tree hugger, an environmentalist. I wanted to live out here because it's a wild place and I want to live connected with nature. And fire is a real present and real danger here. I can't tell you how many years I've spent in the summer, often with our valuables packed and at the door, ready to go should we get an evacuation notice. So it's not something to be taken lightly. But I've also been concerned about just hiring just anybody to do the fire mitigation, because I've seen so many pieces of property that were just laid waste after they fire mitigated, and it just looked like a city park, and I didn't want that for my property. I wanted there to still be places for the animals who were so important to the ecosystem here. We need places for the animals, and we need diversity in our trees, and everything needs to stay in balance. And after working with Pete on that first walk through the property, I knew he was on the same page with me, and I really trust him and the work he's doing. Yesterday was a testament to how careful he is during this project. He has worked with us such that we all decide on which trees need to be taken. It's really in an attempt to be a steward of the property and taking down trees that will be more of a fire hazard and will never be healthy trees anyway. Now we're only doing this work along the roadside so that there's a clear path into the house and an escape route for us should a fire happen. And we're also mitigating around the house. I know from experience and from building this house that when you bring in big machinery, it always has an impact. And so I know it may not look pretty right away, but it's going to be the right thing to do in the long run.
Well, Peter's driving his machine up the hill with the grinder on it, the mulcher, and I've got the drone following up the hill, and I'm following up the hill, and I'll be watching the drone and driving at the same time. It's been about 4 weeks since Peter did the job, and it's still looking a little rough around the edges, but we're really appreciating how open it is down below the house, especially since fire tends to travel uphill, and just enjoying being able to look out in the forest as well.
And if you live in the Durango area and want to contact Pete about fire mitigation, we'll leave his information in the description down below this video.
We really appreciate you coming along, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.
See you next time.